Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first edition of the Unity podcast for all things VR eSports. We're going to try to make episodes every single week, interviewing new people, and today we have players from our VAIL team who just got second place in the Crest League 5v5 traditional and first place in the 5v5 loadout tourney. I'll start off with Jacob. Introduce yourself real quick.
Hello, my name is Jacob and I pretty much just play mid.
Thank you. Nebula.
Hello, I'm Nebula, and I'm one of the entry fraggers.
Smalls.
Hi, I'm Smalls, and I just do whatever I'm told to do.
Well, there you have it. You guys could have been a bit more descriptive, but I guess we'll go into your unique playstyles a bit later on. First thing, let's talk about how you guys are feeling about Unity after Crest so far. Jacob, what do you think about our team?
Can we do someone else first? I'm having mic issues right now.
All right, Nebula. Well, actually, since you two were only on the Crest roster, I think I should start with Nebula. How's it being on Unity?
It's one of my favorite teams that I've been on so far, including Touch Grass, because that was a really chill team, but I'm really liking Unity because I feel like I can actually do good, and I don't have to, somewhat IGL or anything, because Kodiak does all the IGLing, but I'm really liking it, and I think that I will stay here until it dies.
It's great to hear. Smalls, you didn't really. I think you have the least amount of playtime on our team because you only played Crest with us. But what are your opinions for the very few matches that you played on the team?
So, I going up against teams like Rect and Acer, I was expecting the team to, yeah, fall apart fairly quickly. But when it actually came down to game time, I wasn't getting baited. I wasn't well, I wasn't. It was all like thought about. It
Smooth.
was smooth. It was thought out, coordinated. And even when I was baited, there were always refrags, and even it was really, really fun experience.
Great, Jacob. If your mic is working.
It is now. So being on Unity is fun, mainly because I get to do like really the things that I'm best at, and like do the most. And it's also I kind of agree with Smalls. It's nice. I've played with a lot of teams across seasons, and like it's nice to be on a team that doesn't play differently, play weird, or basically fall apart when they see a team like Rector Racer.
Yeah, that's what I tried to make this team into. When I was on Acer for the longest time, I saw teams suffer from very basic mistakes, and one thing I saw is that it was always Acer, Rect, and then the third best team would be all of the new best talent put onto one team. So we had Chem, we had Triple I7, but as people who've played Veil long enough have seen, those teams completely fell apart. And the main reason why, I don't think they had, none of those teams ever had a strong IGL. No strong captain to keep them together. Nobody who really understood the game. What I thought I could do with Unity was make a team that would be strong together with all the best players. Hence the name itself, Unity, bringing together these players. And honestly, it went way better than I thought. Our first roster was really bipolar. We had great players like me and Black, and then we had lower end players like Rice and Prisma. But eventually, we kind of moved the roster around to become something really strong, and that eventually led us to beating Rect and Crest twice actually. And that'll bring us to my next question. I'll start with you again, Nebula. How did it feel playing against 8 Basils?
For someone that was on 8 Basils for a little bit before being on Unity, I feel like it was a pretty good challenge at first while we developed as a team. But later on, when we were able to beat them more and more, like every single map and every scrim for the most part, it felt really nice being able to beat them, knowing that we definitely will cement ourselves as one of the best teams that Vale has seen in a while.
Definitely. Smalls, what about going against 8 Basils? Anything about their play style, about beating them,
So
about any players on their team?
our first go around in Crest was not as successful as our last few. They played very unpredictably, and especially on key day, they used a lot of SMGs. I noticed a lot of UMPs and vector, or not vector, Vityaz. But as we played them more, we ended up beating them, and it was a really good challenge going up against them, especially since I had never gone up against them before. I just I had before then I hadn't been playing in many scrims, so it was really one of the only teams other than Acer that gave us a problem during Crest.
Yeah, I think they were really good at they were just a really good counter strat team. I think that they're equal to Rect, and Rect we've consistently beat, but Basil's, who also have tied with Rect, do way better than Rect do against us. I think mainly because of their super aggressive playstyle, all their players playing really aggressive and doing super fast rotates, when usually our team is a bit more anticipating of the slower playstyles of Rect and Acer that Basil's kind of caught us off guard, especially with that first Kitty. We lost 2-9, which that really kind of dunked our mental a little bit, but actually, I think our mental stayed strong. We just said, we'll repair it, we'll get our players in, and we went the entire rest of Crest, completely slamming the losers bracket. Jacob, anything about Basils you want to say?
I honestly liked playing against Basils. I have played against them a bunch of times, against like individually their players a bunch of times, whether it be in customs, ranked a lot, or just scrims, whatever. But I will say playing against them as a team is like they're unique and like their play style, and individually they're a newer team and they play unique, so it's fun to play against. And I do think over time as they like get more chemistry together, get more experience as a team, and just overall, because most of their players are new, except for Blue Four. And like overall, as they get more experience, I think they'll be a good team.
Yeah, I definitely think the same. I actually predict that they'll pass up Rect. I think Rect will be fourth best team, Basil's third best, us second best, and of course Acer on top. They're practically untouchable without loads of practice to go behind. But I think personally against Eight Basils, they were a really weird team to go against. Were they were bad, really bad at one point, and we were slamming them in scrims. And then one day, they just started beating. They beat Acer in a scrim. They nearly beat us on Miru, which is our best map. And then out of nowhere in Crest, they 9-2 us. They kind of had me scared a little bit, but
I honestly,
thankfully we were able to take them out.
I honestly think I kind of saw that same thing. Even like played with them the day before they became eight Basils, same five players, and then the next day when they had eight Basil mats. And I honestly think that's just after they became eight Basils, they like combined with Blue Four, and I think having the stability of Rect,
Having Rect on their side to help them with strats, that definitely boosted them a lot.
strats helping them, really they didn't have an IGL before that. They were kind of like having that they just kind of played, went sites. Now Blue as like, an IGL and Basil Mez's teachings of just experience, them VODing now that as eight Basils, I think just kind of grouped them in a way that they've never been grouped before. So instead of
Yeah,
five
I think it's a
individual.
really interesting comparison. This entire team, Unity, was made as sort of it's an unofficial sister team of Acer, as being led by me, and it's pretty funny that Rect also are making a sister team that is trying to rival Acer. So both Rect and Acer have made their own sister teams to try to rival the other team, which is it's a pretty funny comparison. But I'll move on to our
Before we move on, sorry.
next question. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Speaking of that Miro game, when it came down to the 8-8, it was
Oh boy, I was
so
just about to talk
close,
about that.
so close. It had me on the edge of my seat. Like, but sorry, you can continue.
No, I was just about to ask how everybody's thoughts were on that 8-8 because honestly, I think that 8-8 against Basils in the losers bracket of Crest, something that has no actual prize pool for money, I think I was more pumped up playing that than beating Rect in season 2 finals. It was so thrilling to do. So, I guess I'll go by everybody and ask you what happened exactly on that round if you can remember. Nebula, what do you remember on that round of 8-8? What was going through your mind the start of the round knowing that everything came down to that single map point?
I know earlier in that round when I was entering, I got coative one tap through a smoke because I hit him like twice from like 6 meters away. And when I saw him alive in the 3v3, then I just knew that we had a really good chance of winning and closing out the map.
You actually saved my life there because me on that round, I knew that I needed to use some sort of specific timing, some sort of specific teamwork there. And this is actually where Jacob will ask you next because when it came down to the 3 versus 3, it was me on B short, you on B short, and I had a brilliant idea. When the enemy are on B short, if you crouch up garage and there's nobody rat, you can generally get pretty close to elbow, and if you're smart enough, you could swing out and pre-fire somebody. But biggest problem is ever since they introduced jumping, that's become a lot harder to do. People will always jump peek that, so or wide swing the right to check garage. So I had Jacob sit in the back and watch for me, and I crouched all the way up, and my heart was just beating faster and faster as I walked up garage. And then I swung elbow. Nebula, who had Kuwait one tap, I shot a single bullet into Koa, killed him, and the other guy on elbow, completely unexpected, I fragged him out. And then that's where the final part comes in. Jacob, you want to explain what happened when you were on forklift against Kirby Dog?
Yeah, so you pushed up. I think it was actually just me and you at that point.
I
2v3.
was alive as well.
Oh
You
yeah,
had Smalls on the
Smalls
right
was alive. Uh,
with bomb.
yeah, and me and you were kind of together. I don't remember where Smalls was, but he was in a different position.
He was
I
behind
was
you towards
I was on
short. He was
short.
trying to rotate bomb.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
grabbed the scanner off the floor. I was gonna rotate it so that we could get a free sight, but he swung out, destroyed me, and then you fucking clocked him in the head. And that was
Yeah,
round
because
over.
I remember you pushed Kodiak. You pushed up elbow. I think you got a kill. I think you
Two
got 2 kills.
kills.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, left it in a 1v2.
yeah, and then no 2v1, right? And
Yep.
then Kirby Dog swung out,
Yeah,
be
from our
short,
side.
hit a headshot. I mean, he didn't swing out. He swung
Elbow.
out elbow to be short. Killed Nebula instantly. I mean, not Nebula, Smalls instantly with a head tap. And then I was on forklift and got the headshot on him on elbow. And so it was me versus zero, and we won that round.
Yeah, I think that's the one player in a 1v2 I wouldn't want to go against. Because Kirby's ping, like his ping mixed with a fast Gun Raiders reaction time, honestly, that's a nightmare.
I won that one that I'm happy to share. Also coming from Gun Raiders. Not
Yep.
a lot of people know that.
I think you are the only two players I know that come from Gun Raiders.
Gun Raiders has a very personal community. Most of the time, people that go into Gun Raiders don't like leave Gun Raiders. It's a very closed community.
Yeah, same with the games like Pop 1 and Contractors. You want to talk more about your experience in Gun Raiders? Because you said you put about 2.5 years
Yeah.
into that game.
I,
That's where you started VR.
So it's really when I got VR originally, I tried Beat Saber was really popular at the time, and I remember I got my first Quest 2 as a birthday gift, and we got Beat Saber, the roller coaster sim, whatever that's called, uh, and then eventually on my own I got Gun Raiders and got addicted to that, and so then I just kind of played that, not really looking into any other games. And for the next like 2.5 years, I played Gun Raiders probably up to 2,000 hours. Uh, and then played that for a long time. Met Kirby Dog, went from a few teams, although the comp community wasn't that big, so there's only so many teams.
Yeah, I heard it was pretty small.
Yeah, I mean, uh, originally Gun Raiders, like season one, like before there were seasons even, the game personally for me was at its peak, season one. And then it kind of went downhill from there. That's why I left season 6 or something. Uh, and then it was fun for a while. It just kind of ended, and then eventually, I met Misty from Eclipse, who got me into VAIL. And then that's once I got VAIL, like a month or two later, I just kind of stopped
That's where
playing
your
Gun
story went
Raiders.
down?
Yeah, I guess just kind of stopped playing Gun Raiders. VAIL is just more fun, and the community for Gun Raiders has kind of died out now. So
Yep. Sometimes you gotta end a story to start a new one. I've had to do that with multiple games myself. Now, Nebula and Smalls, you two actually have some pretty similar stories. You both came from Pavlov's Shack, both around the same time. So, Smalls, I'll ask you first. When did you first start your esports journey?
So I first started with Pavlov Shack, of course, in late 2022. I joined it was in November actually. I remember it. I joined a team called Hydra, which is yeah, now everyone,
Alyssa's team.
yeah, Alyssa's team. It was cringe at the time. Then I left Hydra for Adrenaline V2 that same season, and then the next season I went to Slaughterhouse. After season 4, PCL got really boring, so I ended up switching to PC Pav, and joining Black Ice for a season. Pavlov, it was a really good game. Honestly, for a long time it had me satisfied. But as I started getting more into the comp community and VRML, I saw that the game was dying, that the comp community was dying, and that it was time for a change. So I switched to VAIL, which game, it gets updates, it gets attention from the devs, the comp community is active, albeit semi-toxic, but it's still just as fun as when I started Pavlov. And now here I am.
Yeah, that's honestly, I really wish Pavlov was treated better. The game, it's just, I will say flat out, the best FPS game you could play on VR competitively. The most balanced, the most mechanically, I wouldn't say the highest mechanically. There are games like Pop 1 that have more mechanics to master, but I think the mechanics specifically in Pavlov were the best to master and the best to have in their game. And now, Nebula, we'll go on with you. Where did you first start?
I first got my headset on 2021 Christmas. That's when I first got my headset. But I didn't discover Pavlov until around mid to late 2022. I don't exactly remember when. But I first learned about the comp scene around November of that year, but I didn't really get into it for a while after, till late January 2024. That's when I actually got into PCL. And then I still play it now. I've been on a few different teams for it. I actually won my first PCC season, which was the last one with Rect. And then I joined Black Guys for a little bit, and then I left, and then I've just been on a few different teams since then, and it's been going pretty good.
You moved to Vale at some point. When did you start your Vale journey? Alongside Pavlov, I assume. Unlike Smalls, you didn't quit Pavlov when you switched to Vale. You kind of started multitasking them.
I first got Veil late April 2024, so last year. And then I got into comp pretty fast, like 2 weeks to a month, I'd say. And ever since I started playing VRML MM for Veil, I always knew that I actually wanted to become good at Veil, so I decided to dedicate my time to Veil for the most part during that time. But then I kind of multitasked both of those games. Just played Pavlov comp and Veil comp at the same time, so I can't really get especially good at only one of those games because I don't dedicate all my time to it. I sort of just multitask those games. And I've been on a few different Veil teams, but I joined Unity last month, like 3 weeks ago, I think. I don't really.
3 weeks ago, I'd say. Yeah, you went from Touch Grass to the whatever Chem rebranded to, and then Chem fell apart because Clev fell asleep or just didn't arrive to finals whenever that happened. And then you were teamless for a little bit until I came around to picking you up on Unity about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, something like that.
I think that's about how it went. All right, now that Crest was pretty fun. It was great. I'll ask you guys what your favorite, your best, or your most exciting, just the favorite moment. It could be your best play. It could be somebody else's best play. It could be something funny that happened. Smalls, I'll start with you. Best moment during Crest.
Honestly, best moment during Crest. I had so many. I had a lot actually. It's really hard to pick. I'd say if I had to just if I had to pick one moment from every single game, it would be the knife kills. But my favorite was easily our 9-3 last map, or our 9-0 against Rect. Either or. Those were insane. But I'd have to go with the win, the 9-3 win, because that was highlight of my comp career right there.
9-3 against Rect.
Well, okay, I wouldn't exactly say the highlight. I would say the most exciting moment for me.
Yeah. Are you talking about the 9 on Miru, the last one against Rect?
Our Suna game, the very last finals game,
Oh, wait, of the second day crest or the first
the
day
second
crest?
day crest.
Second. Oh, okay, yeah. No, I was I was blinking there for a moment. Yeah, it must have been really nice getting your sweet vengeance on
Oh
Rect.
yeah.
I'll come back to that in a little bit. I'll let you vent about all that. But Nebula, your favorite moment?
Kind of the like exact same as Smalls, either the 9-0 and Rect or just the overall win, especially against Rect, because I feel like that we improved so much over the past few weeks and that we were able to beat Rect. That's a really good achievement.
Jacob?
No, to be honest, it's probably the same moment because I just really wanted the Gressig skin. But to not be cringe and give the same answer 3 times, I would probably say, forgot what game it was, but it probably had to be just one of the spawn peak, like when we five
Oh, the
man the spawn
five-man
peak.
spawn peak on Miru.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That was
getting
pretty
that kill on
funny.
24
I
gray was
forgot who
fun.
was that against. It was against Meeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to go back in the cast and find it, but I didn't want to search through all the Mirus. I'll be able to find it now. Personally, my favorite, honestly, I already talked about it earlier. It has to be that 8-8 on Miru against Basils. I already said that I've never been more pumped up, even in the Season 2 finals, than winning that. I'll probably play a clip of our reaction during our reaction during or on the video.
Elbow.
Nice.
Let's go! Good shit, Jacob! Let's go!
But we can move on from that a little bit. Let's get more into personal questions I have for the three of you. Smalls, we'll get back to how does it feel beating Rect personally, and go into a little bit of context
It
on
felt
why.
good. It's because I used to be on the team for VAIL and for Shaq as well, but that didn't last as long. But they always it was just the feeling when we finally beat them after months of being confused, and you know I'll go into more context. They removed me from the team for reasons that I didn't understand for a few months after I was removed, because they did not communicate anything with me. Um, it was, in the dark. I was in a very bad time in my life. Like I I was going through some stuff. Not to you know go on like a pity rant, but in the end, it felt really, really satisfying to beat the team that removed me.
Yeah, I'm sure that felt great. Personally, I don't have too much against Rect, other than I wanted vengeance of my own after we actually never. Well, this is really it's a really far back. 3 years ago, I was on a team called Solstice for Pavlov, season 11, and we actually had 3 matchups in that season against Rect. Every time we played them, it got closer and closer. First matchup, we beat them on Museum 10-3, I think. Nobody in the history of Pavlov had ever beaten Rect that bad. That shows to everybody just how weak they'd gotten. But next 2 maps, we fell 10-5, 10-5, I think, on Mirage and then Dust. But then week 2 came around. It was 10-8, 9-10, 5-10. Really close. And then the last week, probably it was one round off the closest a match could possibly be. 10-8, 9-10, 9-10. And that right there, I've wanted revenge against them for so very long. And it felt great winning season 2 VAIL against them, but it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like I personally did anything, because everybody on Acer is so talented that we just wiped the floor with them completely. It felt good. But doing it with my own team, creating my own team, it felt so much better going against them. It I can't really explain it into words, just how great it actually felt to beat them on my own ground. Uh, oh, I guess I'll move on from my personal venting. Now, Nebula, do you think you're going to play for Pavlov Shack if they have a VRML league?
What do you mean by that?
Like play for Unity.
Do you think you're
Oh, if Unity
well?
had.
Not for you.
Oh.
Well, I guess you probably would play for Unity, but do you plan to main Pavlov Shack if that ever comes by?
I think I'll still keep doing what I'm doing here, just playing Shack and Veil at the same time. Yeah, because I'm still doing well in both of these games, I'd say, but I certainly have fell off a little bit.
All right, Jacob. Something I wanted to ask you specifically because you are one of the very few players in VR that I've ever seen improve at a rate that you have, alongside many of the other players on Unity who are also really talented. What's your secret to improvement? What do you focus on when you practice?
It's not, I wouldn't say I have anything special that I focus on like when I practice. It's just, I want, really the only unique thing that I do is I play with a bunch of different teams. Like I'm on Cope for VRML. I'm on Unity, of course, for Quake. And then I'm also like, I sub for pretty much everyone. And I just play like a lot with a lot of different teams, which allows me to play at different paces, play styles, play mid most of the time, but sometimes I'm stuck on a site, and that is really my thing, as I just play a lot with a bunch of teams to get variety.
Yeah, that'll move me on to my next question. I guess for the people, they've probably noticed right now that you two aren't on our VRML roster. So, Smalls, will start with you first. Why is that?
So I've been on after the whole wrecked situation. Hope they at the time Despicable, they were open to picking me up with wide arms, like a huge hug. So I at the time I was and still am very grateful for them, and I will always be loyal to friends. I don't, as much as I hate to admit that it feels good to win. I do not like team stacking, especially since some of the top teams in the league, like Rect. I mean, I'm not really Acer. Most of the Acer players have known each other for years, and it's not really team stacking at this point anymore. But Rect, they swap players out on a whim, like the snap of a finger. So it's just I don't. It's more of I'm sticking to Cope more out of loyalty than the need to win.
That's actually you didn't even explain that much to me. That's actually really morally acceptable. Jacob, uh, your reasonings for staying on Cope?
Pretty much the same, similar. I personally don't have that much of a disdain towards team stacking. I don't really see it as like an issue. It's just a captain putting whatever of the other seven best players that they can get on their team. I just see it as a way of captaining. I don't think I would ever captain a team like that, but it's just, you know, I don't have as much disdain towards it. But I do share the same thing where I'm on Cope just because of, a lot of us are friends, better friends than, most of the time the people on teams become friends over time. Even though we've been a team for not even an entire season, we're pretty good friends, everybody on there. And so just staying there because of that, you know.
Yeah, that's very fair. Personally, I've had my own struggles of dealing with people in the past and toxicity and whatnot. And ever since I moved to Cope, I've been so much more accepting of just a lot of people in general. A lot of people I thought I'd never thought I'd play with. I was sort of an elitist on Acer, pretty much. But switching over to Unity, just honestly, I gave up my will to just be ultra competitive and always want to win. And now that you two explain it to me that way, on how like you see the game more as you want to play it competitively, you do have the feeling to win, but you also see your friends. that really got to me too because I recently I've been switching up that way too. That's the whole reason I made Unity. Well, not whole reason, but one of the reasons is I didn't want to be so ultra competitive anymore. I didn't want to just sacrifice everything and all my time just to win. And we're not even really winning much anyways. This is the VR esports is it's pretty small. We don't really have much going on here. The prize pool for last $10,000, it's a pretty good amount, but it's not something to devote your life to. You have CS:GO players winning hundreds of thousands with the prize splits, with their total team getting 1 million minus org costs. Honestly, I think that's really respectable from you two. And I'm actually running out of questions here. Do you guys have any questions about me specifically? You could just shoot your shot.
Of all the
Mm,
Acer teams you've been on, which one was your favorite and why?
Oh, that's actually a good question.
mm,
It's actually kind of a difficult question. Uh, so I've been on 4 Acer teams. I've been on Acer VAIL, Acer Breachers, Acer Pavlov, and Acer X8, and technically Acer Hyperdash. I think it's really close between Acer X8 and Acer VAIL. I think, people-wise, Acer VAIL, definitely. I've known those people. I've met them in real life. I love them. In-game, though, it's very strict in-game with the way you play. I'm not allowed to mess around at all. It's just all victory in the eyes of Acer. Acer X8 though, we were so good that, and nobody else was good at X8 at the time other than Rect, that we could just mess around against lower teams. And honestly, so many great moments from playing X8 with people like Fear, with Lumi, with Aeronite, uh, everybody else on that team. Blade too. I really miss Blade. I haven't talked to him in a while. I think the X8 team is the most fun team I've played with, but Acer Veil is the one I've met the most people on that I enjoy being with. Smalls or Jacob, do you have any
I do.
questions
I
for
do.
me?
So a throwback to an earlier question about where we started our VR esports journey. I don't believe you gave us your side of that. So
Oh, right. Well, I don't really like to talk about myself too much here because this is sort of a team podcast, and a lot of people already know my history. But I did start Pavlov Shack as well a bit earlier, 5 or 6 months earlier than Nebula and Smalls, February 23rd, 2022. Which, or not 2020, or oh no, that is right. Sorry, I messed that up. February 23rd, 2022. Every year since that day, I've made some sort of anniversary video, and if you check the date right now, you'll realize that that date is actually pretty close again. Uh, from the start of that day, from the very first day I played comp, I don't know what happened inside me, but after my first pickup, or my first couple pickups, I just hopped on Pavlov Shack, went offline, and then just started shooting bots with an AK. It was some sort of just competition inside me that's always wanted to like compete, because I've always wanted to be like a pro esports player, but I never had the money to have my own gaming PC. But a Quest back then was only $300. It was pretty cheap. Or Quest 2. I had a Quest 1, I think, which was $400. It's still pretty cheap. And something about being on the same hardware as everybody else motivated me so much to just being like, they have no advantage over me. I can be the best. And eventually, I went on my whole journey. I went through getting banned a bunch in Pavlov Shack. I went to PC Pavlov. I became master there. Lost to Solstice. Had the whole Solstice arc. I went to Contractors. I got some of the best freehand in the world from there. I got a crazy reaction time from playing a bunch of Contractors. I moved to Vale. I retired once, but was playing Vale in the background. Then I joined Acer Vale for Crest of 2024 May, and that Crest League is what kept me playing VR, because that was one of the best matches I've ever played, and I got to get my revenge against Rect for the first time ever in Crest League May. And ever since then, I've just been winning for the most part. Actually, really haven't been losing much, but that also kind of gets boring winning so much when you really have nothing big to win. And that's also why I've retired. for the most part, and kind of left all the Acer teams I was on. There's no VRMLCon this year. I don't believe there will be a VRMLCon this year. That's also another reason. I don't think I want to play VR if there's really just no purpose. I don't enjoy the games either. I don't enjoy VAIL. I didn't enjoy Breachers. Pavlov died. Contractors died. The only two games that I really enjoyed. So that's kind of brought me here today to where I'm at. Is kind of more of a I'm more of a coach right now. I only play scrims. I only play matches, and I only play for Unity. So that's pretty much where my journey has gone to. Jacob, any questions for me?
Actually, responding to that, so for me, right now I've pretty much always had one game. Like when I played Gunriders, I played it for such a long time because I just up and enjoyed the game up until about the last month, and then I met Misty and Eclipse, now Acer Citadel, and after talking to them, I got into Veil. Quit Gun Raiders pretty much the week that I got Veil. Um, and then like I've just played whatever games really just because they're fun. Like that's why I play competitive. But like I just want to ask, how do you continue playing when like if you haven't found the games fun in a while, how do you continue playing? Like what do you play for?
Well, I don't. And you could actually on my YouTube channel, I used to live stream myself every single day, doing like 1 to 4 hours of aim training. And you could see recently that
Yeah, but I mean even in like scrims and like matches, like what?
sorry, little interruption there. Scrim. Well, mainly for this team, but I used to. I don't play as much as I do anymore. I already said that, but the scrims and matches I just play because, well, the entire first. Well, not the entire. Why do I keep saying that? The first reason I made Unity was so that Acer could play a finals against someone other than Rect. I want to do that for VRML. We all already did that for Crest. We beat Rect and Crest, and Acer finally got to play somebody in finals different than Rect. I want to do that again for VRML. Uh, Basically, I wanted to leave something for Acer because they really made my life just a lot more fun. The last like year and a half I've been with them, everybody on Acer, every one of the teams, every one of the players has given me so much in my life that I had to thank them somehow. So I made this team pretty much for them, and I would have loved to quit VR. I'd love to go make music, which I've been learning to do. That's a hobby I really want to do. I want to make video games. I want to do a bunch of other hobbies, which I have been doing a lot in the background actually. I want to make content too. I do have some content coming out, but I think I don't need to give up on VR fully. I don't need to just put the headset down. I can sacrifice 30 minutes to an hour a day playing scrims or matches if needed, and that's about it. I can spend the other 8 to 9 hours studying, doing whatever I want, getting ready to go to college, just all my other life stuff. So that answers your question, Jacob.
Yo. Other than that, I don't really think I have that many questions that I haven't asked, while we've just been on Unity. So, any other questions from Smalls or Nebula?
No, we've been going on a lot about personal stuff, team stuff. You know, I think we should talk more like a game side stuff. Like what we want or expect from the devs concerning comp, or hell, if there are any games in the future coming out worth playing comp. Like a new game that just came out. It's in beta. It's called Tier 1. I haven't heard much. I haven't seen much, but I've heard that it's gonna be a pretty good comp experience.
The game from the Onward devs, correct?
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting to look forward. I'm gonna save myself for last here because oh boy, do I have a lot to say about the VR scene.
Oh,
Uh, Nebula, I'll start with you. What games do you want to see? What changes do you want to see to Veil, maybe to Pavlov, or just any future games, if there even are any coming out that you look forward to?
I feel like for Veil, they're gonna have to fix the body shot TTK if people actually want to be excited about playing comp. Because
Did
there should be
see.
no reason that my MK 2 taps to the head 20 meters and there's 3 taps to the body. I feel like that's a little bit unfair.
Yeah, I did see your post, your feedback that you did that you made in the VAIL server.
Yeah, there's been a couple of those.
Yeah, I made
Yeah.
it myself.
Jacob?
From Vale, I have a much different perspective on development than like most comp players do. You know, working with not even working with, but just like talking to the devs a lot. Personally, I don't know. I think new maps would be fun. I personally don't see that much wrong with the TTK, like overall, but certainly the more maps is always nice. And what's it called? Fixing the phantom dinks, stuff like that would also be beneficial.
Definitely. At first I really thought that the trading in Vale, or the counter trading, would have been a good thing, and then they mess it up at some point to where it benefits high ping players, and sometimes you won't even have damage go through on them. I really think that needs to be reverted. I think this game needs to go back to forcing those trades out. But the thing is, trades like that wouldn't happen in the first place if you weren't giving people 3-tap body shots.
Well, because
Definitely would not be happening.
like my only thing response to that would be just like the MK, a gun that has been pretty much the majority used since really Vale's inception, since like ever, is like in most ways a body shot gun. I mean, it favors body shots for a while. Its headshots to distance really isn't that high. Like, I honestly think of it more as a body shot gun than a headshot gun. So like, I don't really think there's much wrong about that. Like, kind of view it as just a less grot B. But I think if people are complaining about that, I think more people should just use the AK-12, or even other weapons that have an actually higher headshot like distance to
So-
Well,
get more satisfying headshots.
the thing with that is there's something called a skill cap, and when you have a gun that pretty much 2-tap to the head, 3-tap to the body, except the body is about 3 times larger than the head, you can kind of see how skill doesn't really play a big part in that.
But yeah, that's why I'm
And the
suggesting like other weapons. Like,
even with the AK-12, there was a point where I loved the AK-12, but I just realized at one point that the time it took to line up a headshot, if I just instantly went for the body, I would still get the kill, maybe just 50 more milliseconds later, and that's, I think, every player's biggest complaint about VAIL. You may not see it, Jacob, but
personally,
over time you might feel it. You might start getting upset about it.
I mean, I
I
have
definitely think most
definitely,
top players do.
I have definitely felt it. For me, I just think like my first response to that would be like you said, right? You'll kill them a little bit after. That's why they stopped trading. Trading is broken. Like, the way that they prevented trading is broken right now. But ideally, like, trading is meant to prevent body shots. So I think once that gets sorted out, once they really discover whatever the true best way is to stop trades, without just benefiting high ping players, I think that will help that a lot. But also, like like you said, low skill cap, but that skill to being able to line up a headshot before you know before you're able to be killed by body shots, I would say that would be the skill ceiling. Like, that would be what raises the skill ceiling.
So I'm gonna put my opinion out there. Me, Kodiak, Nebula, we all come from Shack. But Pavlov, it's a very high skill ceiling game. So there's the guns, they have set recoil patterns and set damage. But the way that Pavlov handles it is the way that VAIL should handle it. The TTK should be similar to that, because the headshots are so rewarding in Pavlov compared to in VAIL. So if you're you shouldn't have to worry about if you're going to trade with a high ping player. You should just win if your aim's better. That's why the TTK is a problem, Because if you're going to die to someone all body shots and you hit a headshot, then there's no skill in that. They're just getting a free kill.
I mean,
Well, exactly. That's our point.
my response would be like, if you hit them first with a headshot, like if you hit them at the same time, you will win that fight.
Oh, if
No.
you are
body
playing,
shots will only kill you if they hit you sooner.
not entirely true. The ping plays a very big role in that.
I have clips of me against Acer players who we're the best players in the game. We have the best aim, so we hit each other pretty quick. Uh, I have a clip of me one tapping Neuro first bullet directly when he's out of a corner, and he still three taps me to the body. Back when there wasn't the trade prevention, just to show
that
that
is just thing. Yeah.
three shots
Exactly.
cannot be like maybe at LAN 3 shots will be fine because there's at LAN it's like 5 millisecond delay, but we're not at LAN. When you have 80 milliseconds, going for a one tap to the head, they like by the time it takes for your one tap to reach the servers, they can already put 3 bullets in you. That's the biggest problem for online play. The way VAIL works, it's been swing or be swung since day one, and it's been a problem, and the devs have not really helped us out much in helping us fix it. My proposed solution is giving us a way to modify the stats of the guns ourselves and make our own custom game modes and like upload them to the VAIL servers. So kind of like a mod, like mod.io for Pavlov. You can search up like a certain stat table that somebody made. Like there'd be like a VRML standard that is made by the comp players. I really think that'd be the best solution, other than changing the game for both the casual players and the competitive players. Which Jacob, you were talking about that to me yesterday. That the devs said they wouldn't change body shots because the data they had said that people would enjoy the game less and it would bring in less new players.
So
because they're not getting kills as much.
it's a lot more complicated than that. Overall, the way that it has been described to me when I've talked to people in the dev team is that like the game is balanced for the game overall. One thing the devs have said several times is that they want the game to be played competitively, but as the game, they don't want it to be different for different people. Like that's why VAIL as like a game is the same for different headsets, different Quest versus Steam. It is the same game.
That's also not true. I'll get into that later.
It runs differently and it runs on different hertz, whatever, depending on the headset. But
yeah, different recoil is what I was gonna say.
yeah,
Okay,
but they wanted it to be at base the same game, like the same looks, the same aesthetic, the same maps, and overall. And part of that is that they want it to be balanced to where it can be played casually and competitively. And currently, the reason why they have not, changed anything so far is because they feel like it is built in a way, in the best way that it can be fun for casual and competitive players.
So I'd like to throw something out there quick. I don't know how much I am allowed to say about it. Jacob, you know what I'm going to talk about. Um, we know I don't know exactly what their role is, what to call them. I'm just gonna say a data miner for now. Uh, they did find in more. I'm pretty sure it was update 1.4 or 1.3. I don't remember how long ago. They did find that VRML added another build, or not VRML, XLab added another build to the game called just a VRML. So I don't know. See, that they might plan on doing what Kodiak says and adding a mod.io. But what it's looking like they'll do is take input from the competitive community and just put that in a stat table and make that the TTK on that build specifically for the comp players, which that would be pretty cool. Everyone would have a say in what does what, how things work, and it would be balanced because, of course, that's what comp players strive for: balance and equality when playing against another team. Um, I'm sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I want to say another quick thing too. Long time ago, when the first playable map of Cliffside Artifact came out, there was a TTK change implemented in the game. I don't know. I don't know if you guys forgot about that because I forgot about it. And I played it actually. I played it against Crimson Claw or Acer EU, I think it was at the time. And the body shots were heavily nerfed on the MK, and you could feel it. The build was a bit laggy, so not everyone was playing at their best, but they definitely have
Considered.
they have changed it before, and they probably still have the change there somewhere. And
That's all. That's
what
like
I was gonna say to you, Jacob, is a game can be competitively balanced and casually balanced at the same time. That's exactly what Pavlov is. There are so many people that enjoy playing Pavlov, and it's the same. The guns are the same in TTT that they are the same in Search and Destroy. I think that's more so a flaw on the devs' way of viewing. I definitely think it's just the way they're thinking of the game is, well, flawed
it's
compared
just
to how Pavlov did it.
yeah. I mean, it's just a development standpoint. Every game is different in several ways. Development teams really define that, uh, and like to make it happen. Um, in VAIL, that's just. I'm not saying that their opinion is true. I'm not saying that they've done it, perfectly. But really, what I'm saying is that like a lot of people have asked why that the TTK doesn't get changed. A lot of people have the perspective of it's probably just a number in a document somewhere. Takes 2 seconds. They just don't want to because that it would break one of their development standpoints. Personally, I get it, but I have
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
have a different standpoint than a lot of people. You know,
All right, let's move on from all this game balancing stuff. This is getting pretty grim.
Oh.
Let's talk about something happier. Who is your favorite player in VR to duo with? Like, let's say you're in a 2v5, you want somebody to play with, or you just want somebody to play VR with in general. It doesn't have to be on this team. It could be somebody, some completely other Veil player from a completely different team. Nebula, I'll start with you.
I might need a minute to think about this actually. Is it only about Vale, or did you say?
Yeah, just of your favorite Veil player to either strategically play with or casually play with.
I can give my answer now if you want, Nebula.
Go ahead, yeah, while Nebula's thinking.
For me, a lot of people might not have even heard about this person. For me, it would probably be Squarehead 5. He's
I didn't realize he played Veil.
Yep, he is. Most people know him from Gun Raiders. He was with me for like ever. We made Gun Raiders team a while ago. He's really the person that got me into competitive Gun Raiders at the start, and he's been probably my longest standing VR friend, just in general. And so I would have to say him. Not even strategically. I don't even know if they play competitive right now, but just as a person, they're a fun person that I've known for a long time.
I think I'll ask both questions here. Do you have somebody strategically that you play best with, or want to play with, or you just want in your clutch situations?
I'd probably have to say Smalls because he's the best
Great clutcher.
one. Just we've played for for a while together. Not that long, but Cope has been around for a pretty good amount of time. He's been on it for most of that. And then also just because he's good. If I'm in a 2v5 with somebody, I would want it to be someone that is both good and I work with well. And I would say for Smalls, he definitely fits both of those.
Very fair. Smalls, you're a player you like to play with casually and competitively, if you have to,
Casually,
or if they're both.
if I had to pick someone for both, casually, I really, really don't know. It doesn't have to be a comp player. Can it be someone that I?
You can skip this question too if you want. If you just want to do the competitive player.
So if I'm playing pubs, really, and normally any one of my friends, anyone that I'm chill with, I'll play with like anyone. But for comp, genuinely, if sorry to disappoint you, Jacob, if I was in a 2v5 clutch situation and I needed someone that I could rely on, it would probably be Berserk. There were a lot of times during the Crest League where he we were like just like that. We were playing together on point where I'd push up and he'd get my refrag basically immediately if I died. It was always like very good teamwork with him. But outside of Crest, I'd probably say Jacob.
Very understandable. Nebula?
I don't play casually with anybody, like at all.
That's fair. You could just do comp player.
I still don't really have a for sure answer, but since they're actually here, I'm just gonna go ahead and say Smalls because I know that he's a really good player and he actually knows like how to play the situation and how to get a pick in like a 2v5 post plan or whatever when like we actually need one to win.
Yeah. Smalls, what during the second day, you had 6 1v1 clutches with the Vector. No losses. Every single 1v1 you got in. You somehow won it with the Vector, which I think's that's just hilarious.
My standpoint on it is, I'd like to take some credit, but some of it I can't because they were low from you guys, obviously. And
Yeah, we did some
all
work
of
on him.
the 1v1s and like the 1v2s, they were all because of stuff that you guys did. Like most of the time, I'd say 75% of the time they were below 80 HP. Like you hit them at least once or twice. So I mean, obviously I did and get the kills and end the rounds, but that's like you guys doing you guys doing work too. Wasn't not just me.
I guess this one really shouldn't come as a surprise, but the player competitively I play best with is Fizz. Us being the 2 best players in this game, I'd say personally, we also both have the same mindset of this game. I don't think, even on Acer, I don't think there's a single other player who understands the game of VAIL as well as the both of us together. And anytime we would be in a situation, it could be a 2v3, 2v4, we would we would just play it so perfectly. Even if it's not a 2v4, if it's a round opener, there's just times where we would always have each other's back. We don't even have to speak to each other. We're just such perfect teammates together, both mechanically and intelligently. I guess it's probably a better word for that. But playing with Fizz on Acer, I've never had more fun playing with a teammate than playing with him. Even if we have our differences in game, outside of game, when it comes down to our coordination together, it is so perfect just because of the way we both understand the game. Casually, I'd probably have to say I'll go with my next best. Would be Neuro. Neuro's been my 2-1-2 partner on I think every map for the entire time I was on Acer. Anytime we'd go for picks, we'd do it together. So and of course we hung around each other a lot at LAN. We've been good friends for a long time now. We played Pavlov together. We played Contractors together. Neuro's just been a really good friend of mine for a while now. But I think that'll wrap us up. It's 8 EST. Jacob's got to get to his scrim. Thank you all for coming, and for all the people watching. I will try to do these weekly. I don't
I
know
got
if
one
it'll be with 4
question.
people. Oh, go ahead.
What do you think is the most important aspect of improving in a game?
Ooh. Uh, Hitting me with a really hard question when I'm trying to outro here. This is a question I get asked a lot by a lot of top players, a lot of new players, a lot of people who want to improve. The best way to improve, I would say, oh, it's pretty hard.
I might be able to help you answer that just a little bit. Just
Definitely not
play.
not with the way my brain
Just
thinks.
play.
That too.
That's so real, actually.
That's well, the thing is the way I think of it in such a deep way that I have like an answer, but at the same time I don't really have an answer. I think the best way to improvement is organic improvement. Not using a coach, not using guides, instead forcing yourself to learn the mechanics of top players by yourself so that if you transfer like a game for example or you want to like start learning a new mechanic that you know how to do it faster and better If you don't learn organically at first, you will probably never improve. If you have a top player telling you what to do, or if you're watching a VOD of a top player trying to replicate what they do, it won't work. You need to watch that top player, and you don't need to go, okay, I'll do this in that situation. You need to go, okay, why do they do this in that situation? The why is always what you want to ask yourself when it comes to organic growth. I think that is the most important part of skill. I guess that's actually a good question to hit an outro with. Thank you, Nebula.
Yeah, actually, a lot of first timers watching this. So since this is the first, and most of the comp community will probably see this video, that is a really, really good question.
Yeah, I hope they get to the end though. I guess it's a little reward to making it for the end, but again, thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Nebula. Thank you, Smalls. Thank you to everyone else who's watching. I will definitely be doing these once a week if I can, although they probably won't be with 4 people. I will be probably doing one-on-one interviews. If you're interested in that, please send me a DM. I will definitely add you to the queue. I think next time I'll try to get some special guests from Acer to kick off our second episode. But hope you all have a great night.
Yeah.
See you next
Thanks
time.
for having me.
Yo, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.